and welcome to Crafts with Ash DIY and Decor. My name's Ashley, and today I'm going to bring you 5 rustic Christmas DIYs that I cannot wait to share with you. Now, as a YouTuber, we do have to be a season ahead, which is why I'm bringing you Christmas now. So this will be the beginning of my Christmas DIY series. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that little notification bell so you can get notified. And don't forget to hit the drop down menu and click all so you're notified about all notifications. Alright, so 3 of these DIYs were actually part of a Christmas in July series that I did in July. And then 2 of them are brand new today. So let's get started. This first DIY is actually kind of a dupe that I saw on the Kirkland's website, and I'm going to start off by staining a paint stick by dipping a baby wipe into some Waverly Antique Wax, and then I'm just going to stain or faux stain this entire paint stick. Now this is one of the smaller paint sticks, but if you want to make this project bigger, then you can use the big one. Then I'm going to take some regular size popsicle sticks, and by using my miter shears, I'm going to cut them in half. Now my miter shears didn't cut all the way through, but it did kind of score it. So I did have to use my scissors to go ahead and cut it the rest of the way through. But I did go ahead and cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut off the curved edges at the bottom. And I'm going to do that for both of my pieces. I am going to make sure that both pieces are the same size, and then I'm going to sand down the edges so they're not so rough. And then I'm going to do the same thing with another popsicle stick, but this time I'm actually going to make sure that it's longer than that first set. So we're going to make a tree, so it needs to start off a little shorter at the top and then get bigger towards the bottom, or wider towards the bottom. So now, like I said, I'm going to cut this one in half, and I'm just going to make sure that each of my halves are longer than the popsicle sticks on top of it, or above it. And then again, I'm going to cut off my rounded edges. Make sure that both of them are the same size, and then I'm going to sand them down so they're nice and smooth and will fit with each other. So after I had my second set done, I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to make one more pair. And this time, of course, I'm going to make sure that these ones are even longer than the middle section. So again, I'm just going to cut them down. I'm going to cut down the rounded edges. And then I'm going to sand them to make sure that they are smooth on the bottom. So now that I have all my craft sticks cut, I'm going to take this baker's sheet, or cookie sheet, and I'm going to use one of those popsicle sticks as a guide to cut off strips. I want them to be the same width as the popsicle stick, and basically we're just going to do the same thing. However, we're going to make the metal pan a little bigger than whatever one is on top. So this set that I'm doing right now is going to be just a little longer than the wooden sticks on top of it. So I am going to cut these at an angle as well, just like I did for the wooden sticks. And what I'm doing here is I want to make sure that all the metal pieces fit right in between the wooden pieces. And then I'm just going to follow these steps the whole way down, just making sure that each metal set is a little longer than the wood above it. Real quick, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to my YouTube channel. If you're new, thank you so much for choosing to stop by today. I hope you really love what you see and stick around with me for a while by hitting that subscribe button. If you're new, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate all of your support and I love reading all of your comments. Keep them coming, and I can't wait to share some more DIYs with you soon. All right, so it kind of got a little finicky here because they kept moving. So I did just decide to go ahead and hot glue these down. Now, here I'm using hot glue for the metal, but you're going to actually want to use super glue because, as you know, hot glue and metal do not mix. So I would just use super glue here. And then I'm just going to hot glue these all down. That way they don't move so much. And then here I go. I'm just going to go through and do the rest of my metal pieces. All right, so after I had all of my pieces cut, I'm just going to take a baby wipe, dip it into some Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to stain my wooden pieces. Now, I did forget to mention that for the metal pieces, I glue them to each other, but I did not glue them down to the stick because now we have to paint them. So by using my Christmas green acrylic paint, I'm just going to go ahead and give each one of these metal sets a coat of that. I did have to give it several coats so that way it covered. If a little of the metal came through, that's fine. After it dried, now it's time to hot glue these onto my tree. And they are going to go underneath the little wooden pieces. So again, I'm going to use hot glue here, but I definitely recommend using super glue because these did kind of fall off after this DIY. So just use super glue to save yourself some trouble. So after I had my metal pieces on, I went ahead and dry brushed some wax over the green. Now you do want to make sure that your green paint is completely dry because as you saw, a big chunk of my green paint came off. It like kind of scraped off. I will go back and fix that, but just make sure that your green paint is completely dry. Okay, so next I have to build a stand for my little tree. So I'm just gonna hot glue 2 tumbling tower blocks on top of each other. And then again, by using my baby wipe and Waverly Antique Wax, I'm going to faux stain this little set of tumbling tower blocks. And then I'm going to do the same thing with another set of tumbling tower blocks. This is gonna go on the front, and then there's going to be a set that goes on the back. So I just hot glue them on top of each other and then faux stain them by using the Waverly Antique Wax. So now it's time to go ahead and hot glue my little stand onto my tree. So I'm just going to use some hot glue here, and you do want to stand it up and make sure that it's going to be even. And you also want to make sure that the paint stick doesn't go underneath the stand, so that way it stands up straight and on its own. All right, so next up, we're going to make a star to go on top of our tree. So I have this wooden star here, and I'm going to hot glue that to this metal baking sheet. Now again, I would use super glue because the metal baking sheet kind of did come off a little bit. But go ahead and cut that out. We're going to cut that out because I do want this to be metal. And now I found it was easier to get real close to it by using my little X-Acto knife and scissors. So I'm kind of going back and forth here. So I'm just going to, and then if there was any like foil hanging over, I just folded it around. Then I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and a little chippy brush, and I'm just going to dry brush some of that over my star. And then to attach the star to the tree, I'm going to use this itty bitty craft stick. I am going to faux stain that again by using that Waverly Antique Wax. And then I'm going to hot glue that to the star. And you want to make sure that you hot glue it to like the up point, if that makes sense. Just like that. And then we're going to hot glue this to the stand. Or, I'm sorry, to the tree. And we're going to hot glue it right behind. There we go. Now, I did feel like it needed a little more support, so I am going to take some tape, and I'm going to put tape behind there just to make sure that my star stays on. All right, next and finally, I'm going to add a little bit of greenery by just cutting down a bit of a garland I had left over from last year, and I'm just going to glue it to the top. I did give this garland a little haircut, so just like I'm doing right here, so the little pieces weren't so crazy. And then I'm just going to add some berries. And I thought that this came out so cute. It's definitely rustic. This is the theme I'm going for Christmas this year. It's going to be the toned down reds, greens, and naturals. So I cannot wait to put this out and just display it. Like I said, this was somewhat of a dupe, but definitely inspiration from something I saw at Kirkland's. And I think it came out pretty close, but you tell me, what do you think? This next DIY is a brand new one for you today. So I picked up this hectagon mirror from, it's hectagon, right? Yeah, hectagon mirror from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take out the backing, and I'm actually going to take out the mirror part. That comes right out. Then by using my little scraper tool, I'm going to try to get these little hangers out. And all you have to do is pry them up and then pull them out. So I'm going to go ahead and use that to take out both of these little hangers. Now, because this kind of created some holes, or bigger holes I should say, in this piece, I'm going to take some Dollar Tree spackling and I'm going to fill in those holes. Then I'm going to sand that down, and now I'm going to use my Crimson Waverly chalk paint and paint this entire thing. So to be honest, this one really isn't rustic, but I thought it was too cute, and my daughter absolutely loved it, so I can't wait for you to see how this one turned out. Now, I did make sure to put some paint in those holes. You can kind of see them there. And what you'll see me do is kind of dab, dab, dab inside and then brush over it so it's nice and smooth. I love this color crimson. I think this shade of red is so pretty. It's not so bright, but it's not too dark. In my opinion, it's perfect. All right, while that's drying, I'm going to take this glass candle holder and I'm just going to paint this in several coats of Waverly chalk paint in white. Then, while that's drying, I'm going to take this little Santa holder thing and by using this knife, I'm actually going to get off the part that has Santa's face. You can see that there's like a Santa face part, and then there's also just a solid piece. So I definitely want the side with the face. So I'm just going to slip my little knife in between the front of that, what's holding that in, and then eventually it does pop off. You just need to use a little bit of muscle. All right, once I got that popped off, I am going to go ahead and sand that down. That way it's nice and smooth. Next, by using my Waverly chalk paint in white and a smaller brush, I'm going to paint his beard, his mustache, that little thing on top of the hat, like in the center of the hat, that I think is supposed to be fur, and then the little circle off to the side, like the little puff ball thingy. All right, then I'm going to use some nutmeg paint and I'm going to paint his face. Now, you can see that I am not painting the nose. We're going to do something a little different with the nose, a different color. And then, of course, after that, I'm going to take that crimson red paint and I'm going to paint his hat. All right, now for the nose, I'm going to take some crimson, mix it with some white paint, and then that is going to be our nose color. And then I'm going to dab on either cheek to give him his rosy cheeks. Then I'm going to take my permanent black marker and I'm going to lightly outline where the mustache was. All right, after my little hexagon dried, I'm going to take the brush that had some white paint on it and I'm just going to kind of dry brush over the edges and lightly in the middle of it as well. I wanted it kind of be like snowy, a little snowy effect. So I am very lightly doing the middle too. Just to give it more dimension. Then I'm going to go ahead and stick it back into the frame. After that, I'm going to take this decal that I made on my Cricut. Now you can use stickers, you can use stencils, you can use the rub-on transfers, anything you have. And it says, "Santa, please stop here." And I thought it was so cute and so fun. So I'm just going to peel that off to reveal our little sign. You can see why my 4-year-old really loved this after I told her what it said. And then I'm going to take some of this red and white baker's twine and I'm going to hot glue it on the inside to kind of cover the edges, but also to add a little bit more fun. Now, in hindsight, I should have started this like at the bottom so you didn't see where the two pieces met when I went all the way around, but that's okay. It still came out super cute. Now, I really thought that I should add lights to this, and I thought that that would be super cute too. And I still might go back and do that. I just didn't find any lights that I liked, but it's always an option as well. All right, so now we're just going to hot glue our little Santa behind the sign, the top of the sign there. Now, I'm kind of going back and forth on this Santa. I don't know. You let me know if you like the Santa on there. Keep in mind, I made this for my daughter who's 4, so I wanted it to be fun for her. So, but I don't know. I can't decide. Then I'm going to take that candlestick, and I'm going to use super glue and hot glue to glue my little sign right on top. And that's going to be the stand. And I actually kind of moved it towards the front so none of the, like, you can't see the inside of the candlestick. But the super glue and hot glue really did work. I mean, I've had this for almost a week now, and they've really stayed in place. Then just to add a little touch to the candlestick, I'm going to hot glue some of that baker's twine around the, like, top of it, kind of, like right above the first little lip, and then down at the bottom as well. So then after my baker's twine was glued down, that made this sign complete. I love how this came out. Like I said, I kind of do think that I am going to go back and add some lights because I think it would be fun if this actually lit up. But you're going to have to let me know what you think about this. And I just think it's, I don't know, I just think it's super fun. What do you think? This next DIY is one from this summer, and I'm going to use this round that I found in the summer. However, Dollar Tree is selling just plain wood rounds, so I would absolutely pick some up. Even if you don't make this DIY, they will come in handy in the future, I guarantee it. So as you saw, I just used my hair dryer and my little scraper tool to get off that sticker. And now I'm going to give this a good coat of Waverly chalk paint in white. After that dried, I'm going to take this farmhouse calendar and I'm going to pick the page that has, I believe it's, oh well, obviously it's the December page, and it has Merry Christmas on it, I believe. We're getting there. I just wanted to show you all of the cute little graphics in this calendar. I really love these. So fun. Hopefully they'll come out with more since it's kind of heading towards the end of the year. All right, and that's the one we're going to use, that little jar. I thought it was rustic and perfect. So I'm going to take that off. And then I'm going to glue this down by using a good amount of Mod Podge. Now, the trick to this is you want it a good amount, but you need to make it thin, if that makes sense, and make sure that it is all brushed on. This calendar page wrinkles very easily. Now, in my experience, I have never had calendar pages not wrinkle, so I just kind of go with it, I embrace it, and I guess it just adds to the rustic effect. But I am going to pay attention to adding the Mod Podge around the edges as well. And then I'm going to place my calendar page so the jar is in the middle, and you're going to see me pick it up a few times because for some reason I just could not get this lined up right. And then once I finally do get it lined up, I'm going to use my brayer tool to go ahead and push it down. And I love this tool. It is actually for this purpose, and it just helps get wrinkles and bubbles out. And then I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm just going to flip it over and cut off the excess. Now I am giving this kind of a rough cut because I am going to go through and sand down the edges so that way it's a nice clean cut. I love using sandpaper or sanding blocks to do this because it really does make it look nice and clean. And it gets really close. So here now, that's where I'm going to go ahead and sand it. Now you do want to push in the down direction, that way it doesn't peel up your calendar page. And then I went ahead and put another layer of Mod Podge right on top to seal it down. Then I decided I wanted it to be a little bit more rustic and darker, so I took my chippy brush and some Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just going to dry brush over my image. All right, now I just wanted to add a little 3D effect, so I am making a twine bow. And I've just wrapped it several times around my fingers, and then I am going to cut off a little tail for it. And then I will hot glue that to the top of my little jar. So once my bow was made, now I went ahead and hot glued it down. Now I did kind of want to keep my tails a little longer, so I didn't cut them too short. And I'm just going to fluff up my bow and make sure it looks good. All right, next I'm going to take more of this baker sheet or cookie sheet, and I'm going to cut out like the little top of an ornament. I'm going to make this look like an ornament, so I need to cut off like a little rectangular part, but I am rounding off the edges. And then I'm going to hot glue it on, but again, you're going to want to super glue that on. Then I'm just going to dull down the shininess by dry brushing some Waverly Antique Wax right on top. And then we're going to make a little faux hanger with this flora wire. Now, it is green, so what I had to do was actually wrap it in some more of that cookie sheet. So I'm just going to wrap it, and then I'm going to form it in a circle. Then I'm going to hot glue that to the back of my little holder, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it. Hopefully visually you'll see. Now again, you're going to want to use super glue for this. Now I did go ahead and use my duct tape to tape down the ends, just to give it some more support. And then I did add some Waverly Antique Wax over that as well. All right, then I decided that we need some color. So I'm going to add just a few berries to my little bow. And I'm just going to use this little berry garland. And this one was actually left over from Valentine's Day, but I'm sure they will come out with some for Christmas if they haven't done so already. So I'm just going to cut off some little berries and just add them on to my bow. And then in the middle of the berries, I'm going to simply add a pine cone. And then I'm just going to hot glue that down. Then I'm going to tie on a little twine piece to the top so we could actually hang it. And after that is tied, this little ornament sign is complete, and I absolutely love this calendar page and thought it was perfect for my rustic Christmas decor. What do you think? This next DIY is another new one. So I'm going to take these leftover signs from St. Patrick's Day. You do not have to use these signs. Any kind of square signs would work. So just use whatever you can find at the Dollar Tree or what you already have. So I need to connect these two signs together. And to do that, I'm going to use some of the jumbo craft sticks from Walmart. Now, when I put signs together that has holes in them, I am going to put the holes in the middle, and then I'm going to hot glue one of the sticks over the holes. That'll help when I go to fill these holes so they fill in nicely. So I'm just going to put 3 jumbo craft sticks connecting the two signs, and then I'm going to flip it over and use my Dollar Tree spackling to fill those holes. Now, there was like a gap in between the two signs, so I did use that spackle to fill that in as well. Then I'm going to sand it down to make it nice and smooth and ready to paint. Then by using Waverly chalk paint in white, I'm going to paint this entire sign. I did make sure to get the edges as well, because they will be seen. Then after my sign dried, I'm going to take this ruler and a permanent marker, and by using the grooves that are already there, I'm just going to line it up, and I'm just going to draw lines all the way across to kind of give it that shiplap look. Now, I'm not pushing too hard on my marker because I don't want it to be too bold. But I am going to do this all the way down my sign, and I am going to make sure also to draw a line where the two signs meet as well. Then, because the lines were a little too bold, I did take that white chalk paint and I painted over it. Now, my foam brush actually broke, like the handle broke off, so I'm just using the brush part if you're wondering what I'm doing here. But I'm just kind of lightly brushing over so you can still see the lines, but they're not as dark. And I thought that that created the perfect look and the look I was going for. Then, of course, you know I have to antique this or make it look rustic. So by using this little chunky brush, I'm going to dry brush some Waverly Antique Wax all over my sign. I am making sure to pay attention to the edges and the sides and make it a little darker. That way it looks really rustic. After I was done with that sign, I grabbed this cute little gingerbread house cutout that I got from the Dollar Tree this year. And by using a baby wipe and my Waverly Antique Wax, I'm going to faux stain this entire house except for the roof part. So I'm just brushing this Waverly wax all over it. Just wiping it all over. I am going inside of the windows too. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do there, but I just decided to stain it all. Then I'm going to use my white chalk paint and a little brush, and I'm going to paint like the snowy roof. make it look like snow. After that, I'm going to take this decal that I cut from my Cricut. Again, you can just use stickers, rub-on transfers, stencils, anything you have. And I'm going to put this on the top of my sign, but I am going to leave a little space on the top and the bottom. But it says, "In this house, we." And then I think you might see where we're going with this because you got a little sneak peek of the bottom. So I'm just going to make sure all my wording is down. Now, I do kind of wish I went a little bigger with my words, but I was doing this on my phone using the Cricut app, and I'm just trying to get used to the sizing. And then I'm going to put my little gingerbread house on the bottom, but then I decided to cover that hole, and then I really liked the effect that spackling gave. So I just decided to dab that spackling all over the rooftop because it made it look like snow. So I did that the whole way down on either side. Now, if you really want it to look really snowy, you can do one layer, let it dry completely, and then go over it again. You can even add some Epsom salt if you want to. Then I took this metal word "believe" out of a pack I got from Dollar Tree this year as well, and I'm just going to give it a good coat of the crimson chalk paint from Waverly. After that dried, I'm going to place my gingerbread house underneath the words. Then I'm going to put the word "believe" on top of the house. And by using some 3D or that pop-up tape, that 3D tape, I'm going to put my word onto the house. Now, I am also going to use hot glue too to kind of reinforce it. So the windows on there are 3D, so this automatically makes the word 3D because it's going over the windows, so I thought that was really neat. And I did want to put a strip of this under the L because that's like a flat part, so that way it's even with the windows, if that makes sense. And then here I'm just going to take my hot glue and just glue some random spaces. And then I'm just going to hot glue the house on top of my board. Now, ignore the fact that the back of this was red. I was going in one direction and then completely changed my mind. So I'm just going to hot glue that down. Next, I wanted to add some twine to the top, so I'm just going to start in the back. I'm going to use one of those grooves as my guide, and I'm just going to wrap it. I think I did it 4 times around, but I am going to make sure to kind of crisscross a little bit so it's not one straight or even like chunk there. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm going to do that on the top and the bottom, and that's why I said that you definitely want to leave room on the top and the bottom. Now, off camera, I did add a twine bow, some berries, and a pine cone to the side, which you'll see in the photos. That was an afterthought, and I don't know, for some reason I just chose not to record it, but you'll see what it looks like in a little bit. So then I'm just going to finish hot gluing this side down. Then I decided that I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more dark. So I'm going to go through it one more time and add that Waverly Antique Wax. And like I said, I'm darkening it up a little bit too. And I'm going to do this going all the way down my sign. And I am going darker on the edges and the sides to make sure that they're highlighted. And then after that was finished, this sign was complete and I love it. What do you think? This last Christmas DIY is another one from this summer, and I'm going to use this Easter sign, but again, you can use whatever signs you have in your stash or that you can find at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to prep it by taking off the little bunny tails, the hanger, and then I'm going to fill in the holes with the Dollar Tree spackle. Then I'm going to sand that down once it dries, so this is ready to paint. Then I'm going to give this sign a good coat of Waverly chalk paint in white. Once that dries, I'm going to take this ruler and starting in the middle, I'm going to draw lines by using my pencil to, again, make that shiplap look. So I'm just going to keep moving my ruler down, go all the way down, and then I'm going to go all the way up. And I'm just using the width of the ruler itself for the shiplap little sections. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to smudge these pencil lines because I think that that adds a really neat effect and makes it look more realistic. Then, of course, you know what I have to do. I'm going to use my chippy brush and I'm going to dry brush some Waverly Antique Wax all over my sign to make it look rustic. Now, if you don't like the rustic look, you absolutely don't have to do any of this antiquing. You can just leave it white. Then I'm going to sand it all down to help it all blend in. Okay, next I'm going to take this metal star that I got in a pack from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to take this garland. I'm going to put the star on top. Now, I don't actually end up using this star, but I'm just using it as a guide, and I'm just going to use my garland to kind of form the shape of a tree. And I'm just going to go back and forth, loop it around. And again, you want to start off small at top and then get wider towards the bottom. Once I knew exactly how much garland I needed, I'm going to give it a haircut so it's not so wild and crazy. So I'm just going to trim it down pretty good. Now this does make a mess and I'm so happy I had my little ladybug to clean it up because it's like it's a vacuum. So it cleaned it all up. All right, next I'm going to wrap some little fairy lights around my garland so it lights up. And I got these fairy lights, of course, from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to start at the top and then wrap it. But first what you have to do is you actually have to punch a hole in the top of your sign. So I'm going to use my crocodile. And this is just a hole punch, and it punches through wood, metal, all kinds of different things. Don't mind the ads that pop up. I'm screen recording from YouTube, so I apologize because I lost the original footage. So then I'm just going to loop through my string lights going from the back. So then I'm going to pull it through. Then I'm going to put the tip of the garland at the top, and now I'm just going to wrap the lights around the garland. I did have some extras, so I went all the way down, then I went a little bit up too. Then I'm going to take that berry garland and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at the top and then I'm going to wrap it around, going all the way down my strip of garland. This is your friendly reminder that if you're loving what you see today, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Not only does it really help my channel to grow, but it tells YouTube that you love what you see and you want to see more. So they'll suggest more of my videos and you'll see even more great DIYs. So don't forget to smash that like button. Now I believe I went down just one time, wrapped it around one time, then I cut it off at the bottom, and now I'm going to start forming my tree. So I tack it down with some hot glue at the top, make a little point, and then I'm just going to go back and forth, and I'm going to hot glue it down. Now you do have to hold down your little strands because it will pop off if you don't. So to give it good support, you need to hold it down for a little bit. So now I'm forming it to make sure that I like it, that it's positioned how I want. And then I'm just going to go through and start hot gluing my little pieces down, my ends down. I'm just going to go back and forth, of course making sure that it gets wider towards the bottom. And then I'm going to glue the tip down. And then you really want to make sure that it's all glued down. So I'm just adding some hot glue wherever I feel like it needs it. Next, I'm going to take this star off of this leftover USA sign from 4th of July. And that's actually what I'm going to use. So I'm going to purposely glue it over the hole so it hides it. And then I'm going to make like the trunk of my tree by using a jumbo craft stick. And I'm just going to cut off the bottoms, or the curved parts I should say. I'm going to faux stain it by using my baby wipe and Waverly Antique Wax. And then I'm going to hot glue that to the bottom of my trunk. And I'm going to make sure that the top of it is underneath the garland. And then I'm going to dull down the shiny silverness of the star. And I'm just going to add some Waverly Antique Wax. All right, now it's time to put some batteries in my lights so we can light this bad boy up. Then I'm going to hot glue the battery pack to the bottom side of my sign, and I am going to make sure that the on and off switch is towards the outside, so when this is hanging I can just reach behind and just turn it on. And then of course you want the side that has the screw on it facing up or out. Next I'm going to take this nautical rope. I tied a knot on one end, and then I'm just going to hot glue that to one side of my sign and hot glue it the other side with a knot to the other as a hanger. Now you can use super glue to give it more support. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. Then I'm just going to cut off the excess rope. And once that hanger's on, this sign is done. And I thought it was so cute and so festive. What do you think? I thought all of these DIYs came out so cute, so rustic, so fun. And like I said, I cannot wait to display them for this Christmas season. Now, I know we have a few months. Well, actually not a few, just a couple. But I think that these are going to look great with my rustic decor. I think my favorite, I don't know, I really like that one right there with the calendar page. I like the In This House We Believe. I really love them all. You're going to have to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite. Have you started making any Christmas DIYs yet? I know it's only October, but you know how it goes. If you don't go to the Dollar Tree and buy the supplies now, you might miss out on a lot of good craft items or decor items, because once they get put out, they go. So that's my tip to you. If you have not started purchasing any Christmas stuff, get out there and start. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you got a lot of inspiration and ideas on how you can decorate your house for this Christmas season. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can see even more Christmassy content, and smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Well, until I see you again, I'll craft with you soon. Bye!